Hey guys, and welcome to this hobby tips video on how to paint a blue-green blend on a Glaivewraith for Nighthaunt. So this will be, I guess, a video in a two-part video series, I guess, where we're going to be, in this one, going through the process of painting that blue-green blend like I've done on Soulblight miniatures in the past, but here we're going to be doing it on a Nighthaunt model with a brush. And so we're going to blend that up and just go through that process, and then I'll do another video where we go through doing that with an airbrush. So you can see the difference, because obviously Nighthaunt really lend themselves well to using an airbrush, but I just wanted to show the difference with a brush. As I said, I've done this blue-green blend before, but for people that are searching for videos that maybe only looking for Nighthaunt videos, hopefully this one will pop up for you and you'll get to see how to do this, because I think it's a really great blend. It looks great on Soulblight and other undead models, so it'll look good on Nighthaunt as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing these couple of videos, and I'm not sure whether the Drowner video will be out by now, but if it is, there'll be also a how to paint the Drowner model as well from Nighthaunt, and that'll be really fun to do. But for this one, we're going to be doing this Glaivewraith. So it's really like simple. These models are perfect for this type of thing. Tons of drapery, lots of edges and lines where we can paint up those highlights. It's a really pleasurable style, and would work really well on these, I think. So yeah, this is going to be really exciting. This will be my first model for Nighthaunt, which is also really cool. So yeah, grab a model and let's get started, eh? Okay, so the first step is building up that gradient. So I thought I'd bring you in real time, and we'll go through the process of setting that up on the palette so that you can see the way to blend the colors together to get the right steps. I don't normally do this, but I feel like it's I haven't done it in a while, so it's a good thing to go through that so you can see it in real time. So we'll just take a look at the colors here. So we've got our dark sky blue, we've got our sick green from Vallejo, we've got the Kraken skin from Army Painter, and the toxic mist. And so we're going to set up a gradient from a dark blue-green all the way up into a light green color, and then we're going to do a side gradient of with the toxic mist and go into like a light blue from this blue base. So we're going to end up with basically around 6 to 8 different colors on here, and we're going to build up the greens going down the drapery all the way to the ends into that bright green, and towards the top we're going to go into the blue. And so we're going to have this blue highlight at the top and the greens blending down into a bright sort of neon green towards the end. So you're going to get basically a gradient that goes up and down in terms of where the highlights are going. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing to get your head around to begin with, but it becomes much easier as you go. And this is going to start from a dark blue base, so we're going to do that base tone in a second. But we're just going to be building all those green tones from about 3/4 of the way up and just going all the way down and going into those highlights. And then on the top, we're going to move into that blue. So let's start that gradient. So we're going to begin by just putting down some of the blue here, which we're going to use later for our toxic mist, and we'll just put a bit of that down. We're not adding any water to start with, we're just adding the paint in so it sits there and it won't dry out. If you add water to all these stages before you do them, you'll find that the paint will dry out a lot faster. So the trick here is to set the gradient up with just the paint, and then as you do each stage, you add a little drop of water in to thin it down as you go. So now we've got our base tone there. We're going to begin by just adding a little bit of this sick green in to create a dark blue-green, and that's going to become our first layer. So it's still a little bit bright, so we're going to blend it down a little bit more. You can see the way it's not an exact science. We're just looking for a color that's stepped above the blue but not too far, and we're just going to keep adding that until we find something that works. So something roughly around there, so it blends in. That's pretty good. And now that we've got that, it's like I guess a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1, something like that, between the blue and the green. So once you've got that, we just wipe the excess paint off there, clean our brush. Okay, and then we're going to add in our next layer. So this one is like, I guess, basically almost toxic, almost sick green. So we'll just add this in, and we're going to just add a little bit of the blue just to tint it because it's a little bit bright, and we're going to get a color that's kind of I guess a darker version of the sick green but not too far away, so something like that. Okay, and then we're going to add in the sick green here to get a brighter tone, a little tiny bit of the Kraken to lighten it up. Okay, and then more Kraken here. There we go. You see how I'm not even taking the paint off my brush, so I'm just adding that in, so we get a nice good gradient there. Then lots of the Kraken there, okay, and that's basically our gradient. Okay, so you don't even have to really clean your brush as you go once you get into these mid-tones, because it's all going to influence the color. We don't want exact copies of these tones. We want to just add them in a nice gradient. So you're getting a dark tone, a mid, and then a sort of a medium tone here, which is most of your layering work is done in these layers here. And then we've got the Kraken influencing the highlights down in these two colors here. Now, to go a bit further than that, which we will be doing, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of pure Kraken skin to the side here, and this is going to become our really, our really pushed highlight towards the end, because we're going to go right up into Kraken skin. So we just leave that there to remind us. We can always add more later. And now to do our little blue gradient, I'm going to come across here and we're going to get a little tiny bit of this toxic mist and just add a little bit to the side here and bring in some of this blue and create a little tiny gradient between the dark blue there, and we're going to create a little mid-tone blue, and then we're going to just add a little bit more into the side here to create a slightly lighter tone, somewhere in around there. We can adjust this as we go, and then even a little bit of just straight toxic mist there to the side. So that's our little gradient just for the top highlights. There's not as much blue on this as there is green, so we don't need to go so far, so many steps as we've done here for the green. The big piece of painting work that you're going to do is mostly in the blue to greens, and then a little bit on the top with the toxic mist and the blue highlights. So that's how you set up your gradient. So now let's get started with our base coat, which is going to be the dark sky blue all over. Now I'm going to paint everything with that because I'm going to use the blue as an undertone for the weapons and the skin and so on. But you don't have to do that. You can just paint the robes, etc. As much of this as you want to do with this blue-green blend. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so to begin with, we want to get that blue base down. So we're going to use that dark sky blue, and we're just going to base coat all the robes with that blue, getting a nice even coat. You'll probably have to do this 2 times, but it's definitely worth it. We want to get a nice even coverage, and that's going to set us up for all of the layers we're going to do in the next stages. So once that's down, we begin on our gradient, that first color, which is a kind of, I guess, really dark blue-green. We're going to use that as our first layer color for this transition into the green, and so you're going to start just painting that in wherever, from about 3/4 down the model towards the ends, all of the folds and the edges, wherever it's getting thinner, you're going to do the green all over. You'll see me do that, just feathering it in and giving you a nice transition from blue to green, that dark green. And once that's down, then we're moving into our off sick green color, which has more of the sick green in it and less of the blue. And we're going to just basically just use that now as almost like a highlight layer. We're going to start to pick out the edges, leave a little bit of the dark tone there as well, so we get more transitioning happening between those two greens, and just work our way down, 3/4 down the model all the way around, and you're going to see me just picking out all of those areas and building in that green. And then once that's down, then we're looking at our sick green color, and this is where we want to really focus attention and give that color the attention it deserves, basically, because this is where it's going to start to jump, because we've got that nice grassy green. We want to get a good separation from the blue, so you're getting that blue to green look, and you're just doing all those highlights all around the edges. You'll see me just picking it out, feathering in, keeping it loose, keeping it painterly, but really focusing some good attention on getting that green color in there. And then once you've sort of locked all that down, then we're moving into the highlight layers. And so the first one is the sick green that's influenced now with the Kraken skin, and so we're just going to be doing that now with a fine detail brush, picking out the edges and begin that line highlighting stage. So you're keeping the model braced, using your other hand with the brush to do these nice fine lines all down the edges towards the ends to lighten it up and get everything going. And so once that's sorted out, then we move into the Kraken skin now that's just a little bit influenced by that previous step. So it's not quite full Kraken skin. And with that, we're going to be doing more highlights, but leaving a little bit of the other color there, so it's a finer line, just the ends, the edges, and so on, just really giving it that sort of ghostly, vibrant, bright look. And so once you've got that sorted out, then we're going into true Kraken skin. And so this is where we're getting those final highlights. So you're focusing on ends, focusing on edges, you know, moving through and picking all those little tendrils out towards the ends, around the eye socket, etc. You know, you'll see me just come in and pick out all those areas. And that's really important because that's going to give you that bright, vibrant color, right? So once you get all of that sort of sorted out, then you're going to see me, just to really make this pop and give this the brightness that it needs to separate itself from the blue. We want to, and have higher contrast, we're going to then add a little bit of white into that Kraken skin and just do little spot highlights. Anywhere where the highlights meet or change direction on the corners of the folds of the robes, etc. We're just, and on the ends of the tendrils there, we're just going to add a little bit of that really bright, you know, white influenced Kraken skin tone, just for that little spot highlight to give you an extra bit of pop right at the end. And you should end up with like a really nice transition from the blue, and that's going to set us up now to do those highlights on the top side of the model. So you're going to see me now begin that highlighting process, but now with the toxic mist mixed in with the dark sky blue. And so the first stage, we've basically got about 3 highlight layers here. So there's a 4th one there, but basically 3 main ones. So you're going to start out with that sort of mid-tone blue, and you're going to start to do the line highlighting just like you did on the green areas, but now on the tops, and you're going to connect them with that green so that now everything's connected, all the highlights are connecting. And so once that's down, we move into that mid-highlight layer, which is basically just mixing more toxic mist into that color, and you'll get a sort of mid-tone color. And you're going to use that now again to then highlight in all of those areas, but less so now, more on the tops and the raised bumps and areas on the top of the Nighthaunt model. And once you've locked all that down, then we move into the straight toxic mist. And with this, again, just like with the green, you're looking for the very raised points, the very raised areas to really make those highlights like shine and pop. And that's going to give you that really nice ghostly look. And by now, as you're lining them in, it should be connecting with the green values that are towards the top, the lighter colors, and everything's going to connect seamlessly, which is what you're looking for. And so once you've got all that down, the final stage is just mixing in a little bit of the white there if you want to, and just doing a little bit of a spot highlight with a bit of white mixed in, just to add a little bit of extra pop there and give you a similar value to the small light spot highlights you were doing with the green. And so you should end up with a nice harmonious highlighted model from blue at the top all the way down through into green down the bottom. And yeah, it looks really great. And there we go, one blue-green blend on a Glaivewraith for Nighthaunt. So let's take a look. So you can see how it's, yeah, just a fun little blend to do. I mean, obviously, if you've seen any of my videos, you've seen this before, but it looks great on a Nighthaunt. You know, you've got tons of folds, little lines there that you can do the highlighting on. And this would be a great technique for an army. As I said, we're going to be combining this with another video where we do the airbrush version, and that will be a good one to do if you wanted to, you know, do your batch painting with the airbrush and then do some of your characters with the more refined version here with the brush. But it would be a really great one to try. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll leave a nice image for him at the end so you can see how he looks and that sort of thing and the paint list. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button, it really helps me out, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.